Hi everyone, I'm Antonella, and today I'm going to walk you through the 5 social triggers to master as a leader using the SCARF model. Let us begin by looking at our survival mechanisms. This is when you interact with someone. Your reaction to them will either be engaging because you want to know more, or you're going to retract because you feel threatened. When you approach or engage a situation, this stimulates the brain function by increasing the dopamine levels. So you feel excited, happy, euphoric. On the other hand, you feel the situation's a threat, you're going to avoid it and run away. And this will stimulate the brain function having cortisone levels build up. It'll also decrease the glucose and oxygen in your prefrontal cortex, and this will decrease your memory function. For example, let's say your manager asks you in their office. You feel it's going to be bad news, so you try to run away, or you act defensive, telling them you have other things to do at the moment. In some cases, you might even freeze up, not knowing how to answer them. And much later, you'll come up with the exact answer you should have said, and you don't understand why you didn't think of it at the time. This is because of that memory loss. On the other hand, if we use the same example, but you approach the situation instead of running away, then you're not going to freeze from thinking. Your mind is actually going to open up with questions like, what's happening? Why does he want to see me? And you want to talk to them because you're curious. You want to hear what they're going to tell you, and you're open to that feedback. Now, back in 2008, David Rock published an article in the Neuro Leadership Journal entitled SCARF, a brain-based model for collaborating with and influencing others, and followed it up with his book entitled Your Brain at Work. He explained how we're all wired and we behave in a certain way where we really want to maximize our reward and reduce that threat. Keep in mind that influence is something you do, while power is something you have from within. So you have the power to control the situation and get most out of it by confronting it. But you also have the power to retreat and leave the situation. Your actions will either enable or disable you to influence that other person. The biggest takeaway from David Rock's article is that by understanding these 5 social triggers, you can gain that control in the situation and thus be a better influencer. So let's go through the 5 triggers. The first one is status. Looks at prestige or hierarchy. Your perception of your status goes up when you feel like you know more, or you have authority over another person, or you became a winner. Certainty, this is you know what you know. And the more that you know, the less risk you have from it going wrong. Autonomy, this is where you believe in choices. You believe that you have control of what you do at work and you don't need to be micromanaged. Relatedness, this is being part of a group and being accepted. So you're actually treated as a friend instead of an enemy. And lastly, there's fairness. You find that the outcome of a situation is actually reasonable, that a person's decent, that they didn't take advantage of you. Using this model in your daily life can improve your relationship with others and help you influence them. In fact, depending on whether your reaction is to run or confront, will dictate that outcome. So, to put SCARF into context, we're going to use a situational table. We begin by looking at the social trigger status. So let's look at a situation. You're going to give feedback along with some advice to your employee. You can use the approach method and make it a conversation where you ask them how they can do things better, and then you can make your suggestions. Or you can simply use your authority and tell them what to do. Now, I don't need to tell you that approaching the situation will actually help you build that trust with your employee, a lot more than just telling them what to do. Certainty. Let's say you find out that you and your colleagues are going to get a new manager. You can approach the situation by learning more about this new manager and introducing yourself. Or you can fear it and start looking for a new job or doing your work and hoping that they don't come and bother you. Autonomy. Let's look at the situation that you feel unfulfilled in your job today. You can either approach it by going and find a more challenging job, might end up being less money, but it's something you really want to do. Or you can avoid by just staying at your job even though you don't like it and just becoming disconnected. The more you're in a position that you don't like, the more negative you become. For relatedness, let's look at the situation that you're working on a company-wide initiative. If you approach it, you want to be part of that cross-functional team. You want to see how this change is going to happen. You want to be part of it. Of course, if you avoid it, then you're going to think more like silos. And you're going to say every department to their own and not collaborate with this initiative. And lastly, fairness. Let's look at the situation where your manager gives you more work to do than others in the team. Now, if you approach this in a positive way, you might think he's grooming you for a promotion, or he's giving you more work because he knows you can handle it, and you're becoming his right-hand person. On the other hand, if you avoid the whole thing, you just feel overwhelmed, burnt out, and negative about getting more work without more pay. Now, there are many other situations out there that could occur, but resetting your mindset that you apply the SCARF model means that you're going to train yourself to deal with the situation and get the most out of it every time. So this means actually self-development to improve your skill set. And to do that, when you go into a situation, simply pause so that you identify what's really happening. Then you can actually identify that situation to one of those 5 triggers that we've gone through. Run the scenarios of the outcomes, whether you believe it's really a reward or a risk, in your head. So are you planning to approach it and get more out of the situation, or are you planning to avoid it and deal with the consequences? And finally, you react to the situation and you deliver a response. Now, SCARF should be used for leadership development. In fact, you can correlate each of the domains to at least one leadership trait. For example, when we're looking at status, we're really talking about influence. When we're looking at certainty, it's all about change, so we're looking into change management. Autonomy, the ability to actually problem solve. Relatedness, this is where you're building that trust and building teams. And fairness, it's all about negotiations. So we hope you found this learning valuable. For more learnings, just visit our website,